The air shimmered with cheap champagne and louder laughter. Rachel had spared no expense showing off her $31 million new life. Crystal fountains burbling pink rosé, fairy lights wound through palm trees, a DJ shouting her name like she was royalty. I stood near the edge of the crowd, clutching a small gift bag, a $30 card from a boutique she used to love before she started calling things beneath her. At the center table, golden nameplates gleamed. VIP family, inner circle. Rachel's crew. My name wasn't there. I scanned twice, pretending I'd misread, until Rachel's voice, bright and sharp, carried across the chatter. "Sorry, Mel," she said, grinning like a cat with cream. "We ran out of chairs for +1s. You can stand. You're used to earning your place anyway." The laughter that followed felt rehearsed. I smiled, practiced and polite, because that's what years of surviving her required. Alex squeezed my hand once, a quiet anchor in the noise. But even he couldn't soften the sting. Around me, the women in sequined dresses clinked their flutes, each of them glowing in Rachel's reflected luck. She climbed onto the little stage, microphone in hand, her new fiancé beaming beside her. "To my new life," she shouted. "To the house in Barton Creek, the Tesla, the staff, and," her eyes flicked toward me, "to keeping this one family free this time." The crowd erupted. My throat burned as I took a sip of champagne. Bitter, flat. My reflection in the glass looked composed, detached. Inside, though, something shifted. A cousin brushed past, whispering too loudly, "She's got degrees, but no luck." Rachel's laugh followed, sugary and cruel. I set the glass down on the buffet table, the stem trembling between my fingers. The music swelled again, bass shaking the ground beneath my heels. But the world around me seemed to go silent. My hand curled into a fist, nails biting into my palm until I felt the faint press of pain, grounding me. I straightened my shoulders, breathed out once. "I stopped being afraid a long time ago," I whispered, so quietly no one could hear. Then I walked away from the lights, slow, deliberate, like a promise I intended to keep. The first time I realized Rachel and I lived in two different worlds was on her 18th birthday. She stood in the driveway, sunlight bouncing off the cherry-red paint of a brand-new Mustang. Dad handed her the keys like they were a crown, Mom crying and saying, "You deserve this. Honey, you've been through so much." I'd been through the same childhood, in the same house, under the same roof. But when I turned 18 3 years earlier, I got a set of used college textbooks wrapped in brown paper. "Because you like to read," Mom said, smiling proudly, as if practicality counted for fairness. I smiled too, because that's what you do when you learn early that love in our house wasn't distributed. It was rationed. Rachel revved the engine, shrieking with joy while I held a disposable camera and captured the moment. She never even looked at me in the photo. Years later, the betrayal that truly gutted me came with numbers, $45,000 to be exact. My college fund, money I'd worked for since high school, babysitting, tutoring, saving every check. I came home one weekend to find the account empty. Dad wouldn't look me in the eye. Mom just said softly, "Your sister got into some trouble, Mel. Credit cards. We'll pay it back when we can." Rachel stood behind them, arms crossed, eyes red from crying, but her nails freshly manicured. "I'll fix it," she said, her voice trembling in the way that made everyone rush to protect her. They never paid it back. And I learned that my education would always come second to her excuses. Christmas came the next year. Rachel strutted in wearing a fur-trimmed coat, handing out gifts like Santa herself. Luxury watches, perfumes, electronics. When the pile was gone, I sat there, smiling awkwardly, hands empty. "Oh my God, Mel," she laughed, sipping her wine. "I totally forgot yours. You don't mind, right? You're not materialistic." Mom patted my knee. "You know how she is." I knew. I'd always known. Through college, I sent postcards, one from every city I visited on architecture internships. "Wish you were here." No reply. When I won my first design award, I mailed the announcement home. Mom texted once, "We're proud, sweetie. Rachel's moving into a bigger apartment." By the time I was 24, Rachel had already borrowed my car twice and returned it dented, laughed off every apology, and called me Little Miss Responsibility, like it was an insult. But what finally broke me wasn't her words. It was her signature. One Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from the bank asking about a credit line opened under my name. I froze. It listed my apartment address. When I confronted her, she shrugged. "It's not like you use your credit," she said. "You're fine, Mel. Relax." When I told our parents, Dad sighed. "Don't make a big deal. You'll ruin her record. She's just impulsive. That was the family word for cruelty. That night, I packed everything I owned. 2 suitcases, a drafting table with a cracked leg, and $900 in my account. Rachel was out partying. Mom cried at the doorway. Dad mumbled something about how I was overreacting. I didn't say goodbye. Austin was loud, hot, and lonely. I rented a studio above a mechanic's shop and worked days sketching layouts for a local firm, nights delivering food to make rent. My hands shook from exhaustion, but for the first time, I slept without waiting for an apology that would never come. I built slowly, piece by piece, blueprint by blueprint, a life without them. 14 years later. My name gleamed in glass letters across the downtown skyline. Carter Design Group. We'd just closed a $58 million sustainable housing deal, the kind of project my old professors used to call career-defining. I stood on a rooftop terrace, city lights glittering beneath me, holding a champagne flute worth more than my first paycheck. Alex leaned against the railing beside me, his shirt sleeves rolled up, eyes proud. "You built this alone." "Mel," he said. I smiled, the wind catching my hair, and looked out over the skyline. A city I'd claimed one building at a time. "No," I said softly. "I built it without them." Mornings in Austin had a rhythm I loved. Quiet, golden, deliberate. My silver Tesla hummed along the riverside road as the city woke up around me, coffee in hand, sunlight slicing across the water. My house stood at the edge of the hill, glass and cedar, clean lines and calm. It had taken 12 years to design a space that didn't echo with anyone else's voice but mine. By then, Carter Design Group wasn't just a firm. It was a symbol. $12 million in annual revenue. 52 employees who actually looked happy to come to work. My name was printed in sleek silver letters on the entrance wall downtown, next to a living moss display that read, "Build what outlasts you." Every time I saw it, I thought of that cramped studio I'd started in, pencil between my teeth, counting coins for printer paper. That week marked our 10-year anniversary. I came into the office late, rare for me, and found the lights off. When they flicked on, confetti rained down. Everyone shouted, "Surprise!" They'd transformed the studio into a celebration. Blueprints taped like banners, models of my earliest projects displayed like trophies. Someone had even recreated my first drafting table, cracks and all, with a tiny plaque that said, "Where it began." For a moment, I couldn't speak. The noise blurred. Faces swam. I just stood there, trying not to cry. Alex appeared behind me with a velvet box. Inside lay a sleek fountain pen, silver and weighty. The engraving shimmered. "You drew your own future." He smiled softly. "Because you did." I touched the words, the cool metal grounding me, and whispered, "No one's ever given me something that meant this much." He kissed my forehead. "Then they didn't know your worth." Later that night, I sat on my patio overlooking the river. The lights of Austin flickered below like a living constellation. I snapped a photo, the view, the pen, a half-finished glass of wine, and posted it with a simple caption. "Blood makes you related. Love makes you family." It was meant for me, a private reflection. But by morning, it had over 1.2 million likes. Comments poured in. "Needed this today." "Chosen family always wins." Powerful words. And somewhere among them, a notification I hadn't seen in years. "Rachel Carter liked your post." I stared at it for a long moment. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number, Texas area code. I let it go to voicemail. Then another. Then another. That night, while reviewing a proposal, I pressed play. "Hey sis, Rachel's voice cracked like she'd been crying. "I know things were rough, but I could really use your help. Some people scammed me. They took $2.7 million. Please, just talk to me." I paused halfway through. The tone was familiar. That soft desperation she used when she wanted something. My heart didn't race. It didn't even ache. It just stayed steady. Another message followed. "You're successful now, right? Family helps family." That one made me laugh. Quiet, humorless. I set the phone down, staring at the city lights through the window. Alex walked in, sleeves rolled up, 2 glasses in hand. "Who's calling this late?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "She kicked me out of her mansion 4 days ago. Now she's knocking on my door." He looked at me, unreadable. "You going to answer?" I swirled the wine, thinking of the years I'd spent waiting for a call that never came. The silence that used to cut, the ache that used to matter. "Yeah," I said finally, but not the way she expects. Rachel's mansion looked smaller than it had at the party. The marble columns and glass walls still glimmered, but the air felt stale, like perfume trying to cover rot. I parked the Tesla in the circular driveway, stepping out slowly, heels clicking on the stone. Black dress, tied hair, no jewelry except a silver watch. Deliberate, restrained, power in simplicity. When the door opened, Rachel's face flickered. Surprise, then discomfort. Her perfect lashes fluttered once before she smiled too wide. "Wow," she said, voice shaky. "You look successful." "I am," I said evenly. She laughed, short and brittle. Come in. Sorry about the mess. Been, dealing with a few things." Inside, the place looked like a showroom for someone else's life. Expensive, tasteless, hollow. Boxes stacked in the hallway, unpaid bills on the counter. The woman who once toasted to keeping it family-free looked like she hadn't slept in days. We sat opposite each other in her marble kitchen. Between us, an empty wine glass. Symbolic somehow. "So," I said, folding my hands, "you said it was urgent." Rachel inhaled, her manicured fingers trembling as she smoothed her hair. "They're going to repossess the house. The taxes, the mortgage, the renovations. I miscalculated, okay? I just need $500,000. You have millions. It's nothing to you." She said it like she was asking for sugar. I set my tablet on the table and swiped once, the glow lighting her anxious face. "You remember this?" The photo appeared in a bank statement. A $45,000 withdrawal labeled Carter College Fund. The date glared from the top, June 4th, 2006. Rachel's eyes darted away. "Oh, that. Mel, that was ages ago." "So were birthdays you forgot," I interrupted softly. "So were years you didn't call." I slid another document forward. Screenshots of texts unanswered, emails ignored, award invitations opened but never replied to. Each page was dated, organized, methodical. Every wound had a timestamp. "Let me show you something." One by one I laid them out. Proof not of crimes, but of patterns. Neglect written in pixels. Disrespect captured in receipts. Rachel's hand shook as she reached for one, then dropped it like it burned. "I don't understand why you're digging all this up." "I'm asking for help, Mel. Just help me." "Help you," I repeated. "The way you helped me?" Her lip quivered, and then she tried the oldest trick she knew. "Mom's sick," she whispered. "Don't do this." I met her gaze, steady. "I did, for years. You just didn't notice." The silence stretched long and heavy. Outside, thunder rumbled distantly, a storm crawling toward us across the Texas sky. Rachel's composure cracked. "I said I was sorry," she snapped. "You think you're better than us now? Because you got lucky?" I leaned back. "Luck didn't build skyscrapers, Rachel." Her cheeks flushed. She opened her mouth, then shut it again when I reached into my bag and took out a navy blue folder. "I didn't come here to argue," I said. "I came to tell you what I've already done." Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I opened the folder and slid a single sheet across the marble. The letterhead gleamed. The Carter Rebuild Fund. "I've already allocated $1 million, I said, my voice calm but final. "Not to you. To women rebuilding after family financial abuse. It's called the Carter Rebuild Fund." Her jaw dropped. "You can't just—" "I can. I interrupted. And I have. She snatched the paper, scanning it as if the words would rearrange into something that benefited her. You named it Carter. That's our name. It's my name too, I said. She laughed, a sound halfway between disbelief and fury. You're doing this to humiliate me. No, I said quietly. I'm doing this so what you did to me won't happen to someone else. I reached for my phone on the counter and tapped the screen once. The red recording icon blinked back at me. Her eyes widened. You're recording this? She hissed. I am, I said simply. This opportunity has passed, Rachel. Her face contorted. The mask dropped all at once. Rage, fear, desperation flooding through. You're heartless, she screamed, slamming her palm against the table. After everything you owe me. Wine from the half-empty glass splashed across the marble as she shoved it aside. It shattered, red streaking down the white counter like spilled blood. Our mother appeared in the doorway, drawn by the noise. Her voice wavered. Melissa, please. She's your sister. She made mistakes, but I turned to her gently. I know, Mom, and I forgave her. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. Rachel's tears came fast, dramatic. You'll regret this. You'll see. I stood, smoothing my coat steady as marble. I'm not responsible for your feelings. No, I said. You had your chance to show up. That opportunity has passed. The storm broke outside then. Rain hammering the glass, wind rattling the door, as if the universe wanted to underscore the ending. Rachel screamed something I didn't catch. Mom cried quietly. I walked out without looking back. My heels clicked across the tile, then the stone steps. The rhythm unbroken. The car door closed with a soft, satisfying thud. The kind of sound that told you a chapter had ended. Through the windshield, lightning flashed over the mansion, illuminating Rachel's silhouette in the doorway. Small, frantic, fading as I pulled away. The road ahead glistened with rain, and for the first time in years I didn't feel anger, just clarity. I turned on the wipers, exhaled, and whispered to the storm, that opportunity has passed. The calls started before I even got home. 18 missed, then 22, then 41. By the next morning, Rachel's meltdown was all over social media, her mascara-smeared face, her rant outside the country club. The headline, Lottery Millionaire's Fortune Vanishes, Sister Architect Walks Away. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Some messages came from old family friends, others from numbers I didn't recognize. Mom, you humiliated your sister. We raised you better. Dad, just call her, Melissa. Don't make this worse. I didn't reply. Instead, I sat on my patio, coffee cooling in my hands, watching the morning fog rise off the river. The silence felt heavier than any argument. For years, I'd have given anything for their voices. Now they were just noise I didn't need. By day 3, Rachel's tantrum turned to pleading. Rachel, voicemail Sharpkin 19. They froze my accounts, Mel. I can't pay the lawyers. You're really gonna let me lose everything? Rachel, voicemail Nerd 20. You think this makes you better than me? Wait till everyone sees what kind of person you really are. I forwarded them to my attorney, then turned my phone face down. At the office, my assistant handed me a bouquet with no card. I didn't need one. The guilt always found a way to bloom back into my life. Alex noticed before I said a word. Talk to me, he said. She's losing everything, I admitted quietly. Part of me wonders if He cut me off gently. You didn't ruin her, Mel. You just stopped fixing what she kept breaking. His voice didn't waver, and it anchored me. I nodded slowly. Then why does it still hurt? Because you cared, he said. And caring doesn't vanish just because the truth does. 2 weeks later, the foreclosure notice went public. Rachel's mansion, the one she'd kicked me out of, the one she bragged would be family-free, was being auctioned. I drove by once. Not to gloat, not to watch her fall, but to remind myself of the cost of silence. The gates were chained, the fountain dry. A faded, sold sign leaned crooked in the yard. Through the windshield, I saw a reflection, my own, older, stronger. no longer small in her shadow. For a long moment, I just sat there, hands still on the wheel. "I hope you learn something from this," I whispered. "I hope we both do." Then I drove away. A week later, an article appeared online. Rachel Carter enters treatment for gambling addiction and financial dependency. I didn't share it. I didn't comment. I just read the last line twice. Sources say her sister declined to comment. For once, silence was the loudest statement I could make. Before bed, I opened my laptop and transferred a quiet donation, $15,000, to the rehab center's anonymous fund. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Just a closing of the loop. I didn't need her to know. I just needed to let go. When I looked out my window that night, Austin's skyline shimmered against the dark water. The same skyline that bore my name on glass and steel. The city I'd built my life around. The life I'd built without them. I thought of Rachel's laughter at her party, her champagne-glossed cruelty, the way she'd said, "You're used to earning your place." I smiled faintly. I had earned it, every inch of it, and for the first time, that didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like peace. 18 months later, the air inside the Austin Civic Hall shimmered with quiet pride. Rows of folding chairs faced a simple stage dressed in white lilies and soft gold light. On the banner above the podium, the words, "The Carter Rebuild Fund, Annual Scholarship Awards," gleamed. Melissa stood off to the side, in a navy suit that matched the calm in her face. The room buzzed with chatter, laughter, camera shutters, the trembling voices of women who had rebuilt their lives from ashes. Her name was whispered like something reverent, not glamorous, but earned. On stage, a young woman stepped to the microphone. She was maybe 22, her hands shaking as she unfolded a note. When I left, she began softly. I had nothing. No family, no money, no belief that I could start over. And then one day, I got an email saying I'd been chosen for the Carter Rebuild Fund. I thought it was a mistake. She looked at Melissa then, eyes glistening. "You gave me my life back." The audience erupted in applause. Melissa smiled, but her eyes watered. For once, the emotion wasn't pain. It was peace, pure and unhurried. After the ceremony, she stepped outside with Alex. The late afternoon sun dipped low over the skyline, painting the city in shades of copper and rose. The river below shimmered like liquid glass. Alex slipped his hand into hers, thumb brushing her ring finger in quiet affection. "Worth isn't measured by who claps for you," he said softly. Melissa looked at him, that faint half-smile curving her lips. "No," she said. "It's measured by who you choose to help," he nodded. But the weight of her words lingered, the kind of truth you don't speak lightly. That evening, at her office overlooking the river, Melissa sat at her desk surrounded by files, thank you notes and photos from the event. The last scholarship check lay before her, neatly signed, ready to hand over. Her assistant placed an envelope on the desk. "This came for you, Ms. Carter. No return address." She knew the handwriting instantly. Rachel. The paper was slightly creased, the ink uneven. The tone was different, stripped of pride, stripped of performance. "Melissa," it began. "I'm in a rehab program now. Therapy every week. I've started to understand the things I used to call just mistakes. I was cruel. I was selfish. I hurt you, and I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to tell you, I'm sorry, for real this time." Melissa read it twice. Her breath stayed steady. She could almost hear Rachel's voice again, not the sharp, defensive one, but the fragile one from years before, when they were just two sisters sitting on a porch swing, sharing dreams before life hardened them. She picked up her pen and wrote a reply. Just one short paragraph. "Rachel, I wish you healing. But my boundary stands." Melissa, no resentment, no rage. Just closure, simple and complete. She sealed the envelope and set it aside. The sunset spilled through the wide windows, flooding the office in gold. Melissa walked out into the courtyard beside the scholarship building. The city hum softened around her, cars passing, leaves rustling, the river whispering below. In her hands, she carried a small oak sapling and a trowel. The soil was rich and dark beneath her fingers. She knelt, planted the tree, and patted the earth firm around its roots. When she stood, the horizon burned orange and pink. The young oak stood small, but certain, its shadow long and straight. She looked up, hands dusty, heart quiet. "Blood makes you related," she whispered to the wind. "Love makes you family." A breeze swept across the courtyard, catching her hair, rustling the oak's tender leaves. And for the first time in her life, Melissa Carter felt untouchable, not because she'd won, but because she'd let go.